What's the barrel like on it?
I have 30-inch barrel, I believe.
30 inch?
Yeah, I have 2 chokes modified and full. Yeah.
James showed up to go skeet shooting or clay shooting with me, and he's got these 2 tactical shotguns. I'm like, you can't hit anything with that. The barrel's like this.
Oh.
He's like trying to shoot it. He can't hit anything, right? I said, James, those are tactical shotguns. I know, but they're good. Well, they're not for this.
I have a double barrel coach gun.
Yeah.
That's short.
So I said, why'd you try this gun? Now he's knocking them out of the sky. Commissioner Teseo, is he? Is he taking over from Mr. Deutsch?
I have
You're using a shotgun that's supposed to be used in a room smaller than this to try and shoot clays.
I grabbed the wrong one. Looks like mine, just
When you're retired, you can retire your phone. Clock there hasn't been reset. It's 9.
Regular meeting, April 11th, 2024, starts on the airport authority. Will come to order. Everyone would stand for the invocation.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to gather as leaders. We ask you to guide us in all of our discussions and decisions today to your will. We pray for safety and health. In your precious name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. And
Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
roll call.
Morning, everyone. Excuse me. Mr. Thornberry?
Here.
Mrs. Oliver?
Here.
Mr. Carr?
Present.
Mr. Andrews?
Here.
Mr. Parrish?
here.
Mr. Hanzek?
Here.
Thank you.
And Commissioner Coppola will not be attending the meeting this morning. Next item, citizens input. Anyone wishing to address the board during this portion should state their name for the record. Each citizen is allowed up to 2 minutes to express their opinion on agenda items. Okay, seeing none.
No, we got one coming up.
Oh,
May I approach?
yes, sir.
My name is Victor Kraus. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm a proud owner of one of the units of a 6-unit hangar building right across from FedEx. One of my other neighbors in that building has some photographs. His name's Rodney Cobb. Again, my name's Vic Kraus. And please excuse the garish wristband, but I'm still in the middle of attending the Lakeland Annual Convention. And I'll be departing for that after this meeting. But I consider this meeting important enough to make that transition down here and to go back up. The reason I'm here is to express some pretty serious concerns about the recent letter of escalation that we received on our property. We built the building 2005. We have 5-year terms, so from 5 to 10 to 15 to 20. We've had some modest increases. The latest one that came in, 240% increase. It was staggering, and most of my neighbors are in shock, as I am. And I wanted to come and appeal to the board to consider a few facts on our property. We're owners. We built the building, okay? We're not tenants. And so my first idea is, let's see what's happening in the neighborhood. So I looked to the new flight center, and not only are the buildings similar, they're almost identical as far as the 60 by 60 foot units. 6 of those babies, they're beautiful. And we looked to what these folks were paying for rent. They're renters, they're tenants, they're not owners. They didn't build the building, you guys did. They're paying $750 a month. So I thought, let me do some arithmetic, and I'm not a mathematician. Whew, that clock ain't running yet good. But I sat there and I looked at the numbers, and if you apply a formula, which I'm not sure is accurate, but I'll throw it out there, you guys will decide whether, and vet me out and confirm whether he's full of baloney or right. But if you take a formula of about 20% of that $750 a month as going to the land value, you're going to come up with a number of about $150 out of that $750 that these folks are contributing toward the land. So that being said, we're looking at this new escalation, and our cost would be $384 a month for the same 60 by 60 foot plot of land. So I thought, well, there may be some compelling reasons there's this difference, right? But I'm having a real hard time finding out, because here's the comparisons that I came up with. Let me throw this out quickly. It's probably not germane, but besides the land lease we endure, pay, gladly, by the way, I'm happy to be here, do not throw me out, but we give the mowing guy for the big retention pond behind our hangar $2,500 a year. We give the city $1,000 for city water trash, what the heck. We had to fix our own asphalt. Nobody else wanted to fix it for us, so we gave the asphalt guy $6,800 a couple of years ago to fix the asphalt in front of our hangar. We spent over $5,000 a year this last few years just fixing the roof. Ian took care of that, and we got tired of the grass and the sand blowing in under our hangar doors, so we paid another contractor in 2015 $6,800 to put a concrete pad in to spare us some of that hassle. Anyway, so these are, I please suffer this last minute of whining, if you will, but in addition to our land lease and whatever other costs we have, we've had these expenses as well. Okay, the whining's over. And back to the flight center, and I'm suggesting it's a really good comparison, okay? That's a lie, and it's the only lie I will tell you. I promise, it's the only lie I'll tell you. Here's why it is a lousy comparison. The only thing similar is the size of that lot, 60 by 60. The building, the height is probably equivalent to. That's a new building. It's a brand new building. I am so jealous. My building's 19 years old, okay? They got a new ramp. Man, ours is deteriorating. They got now I'm really getting jealous, because they got a man door key-coded access right there at the entryway. When I show up, flying in from Chicago at 11 at night, thank God for the FBO and the generous folks at Veronica or whoever in the Geraldo, there's a bunch of them, drive over, pick me up at the terminal, and drag my sorry butt around and get me through the fence to my own hangar where my truck, and I can drive home. So don't have that man door, because I would use it. And so would not just us, 6 people.
Yeah, I understand.
This is going on too long. I'll tell you what, you don't want to hear the endless parade of that. So here it is, guys. In summary, I'll go right to page 3. We've been a very stable revenue source for the airport, goodwill ambassadors for the airport, active air show supporters. I've loaned my hangar out to air show people that you've hired to use my hangar in my absence. We're owners. we're not transients. When I see a piece of, stuff on the ground or up against the fence that blew over from the rental car lot because of a south wind, I go pick it up and put it in my trash. I know it's going, sorry, Cap, give me one more second. We carry a substantial additional burden, I explained it. We feel the proposed escalation is grossly unfair. I would request, please, consider a moratorium on this increase till maybe June 30th. Give you guys time to vet me out, confirm what I'm telling you is fact, and, be sure that you've had a chance to explain to us what I'm overlooking or not seeing. I would ask for a recalculation, you ain't gonna like this, a recalculation of our annual land lease up from 11.9 or whatever it is to 12 something. No, never mind. An increase that represents 6%, which is pretty close to equivalent to what I pay in escalations at my land lease for a 60 by 60 at Aurora Airport up in Chicago. And I've had that place for 20 years. And so I'd love to have that Mandor. I've asked LaRoche, Ray, to consider that a couple of times. Love to have a Mandor by where we are. And guys, thank you for this opportunity. Sorry, guys, I sucked up. So, did anybody time that? Thank God. Okay, appreciate your
The
time.
stronger part of 2 minutes.
Yeah. Again, thank you.
Okay. Well, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, not knowing all the details of this,
Right.
I don't think his request is unreasonable to get together with staff and really get into the nuts and bolts of why they're looking at such an increase. Just my opinion.
You believe it's unreasonable?
No.
No, reasonable. Okay.
We'll look into it.
Yeah, I'm just saying he's asking for an opportunity, and I think it's fine.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
I got it.
Am I correct? You're looking for the opportunity to sit down with staff and review what the reasons are for the proposed increases for.
Yeah.
You got-
And
you got-
I understood that's exactly
Yeah.
what he's asking
Okay.
for. James, is there anything?
Need a motion?
No, they just need to come in.
This is 207, right?
Yeah.
Not anymore.
Well, yeah, it's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not
Okay.
any other comments, any other discussion?
I would agree with Commissioner Hansick.
Yeah.
There's no formal action we need to.
No,
No.
just,
That's, what's the proper way to handle it at this point?
You don't-
Just defer to staff and have
Yeah.
them attend to it.
Okay. All right, if you could,
I will.
the staff take care of it, look at it. Thank you for taking the time to address the board.
Thank you.
Next item, additions or deletions to the agenda?
Yes, I'm going to remove item 13C from the new business and View Rail LLC lease from the consent agenda.
Okay. All right. Next item, consent agenda. Need a motion?
I'll move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
First and second, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Next item, we have Secretary Treasurer's report.
Good morning. In Ms. Coppola's absence, I'll just dig right into it. So this is February. You also received the January numbers as well in your packet. As you can see, for the month, revenue was a little bit higher than expected. Expenses were higher, but considerably less. We continue to operate at slightly above our projected goals for the month, and for the year, we're doing really well. Let me get over to accounts receivables. We are and you hate to do this to your biggest tenant, but we're sending a demand letter to Allegiant today. And everybody else is paid in full. If you look all the way to the right, as of February, we're getting caught up. We had some issues with some tenants that are just having some financial problems. We've gotten them all caught up now, for the most part, except for Allegiant, who's behind. And it's strange because they pay one bill and not the other, so we're trying to work with their accounting department. It's different departments that pay the bills, so.
That's like at my house.
Yeah. If you want to go through anything on the income statement, it's kind of a mirror of what you see up here, just more detail. We're doing really well for the year. We're looking at about a 2% increase in traffic from last year. As we move through February, we'll have March's final numbers. I think we just got them. They were up about 2.5%, 3%. We'll see things start to fall off at the end of April, and then pick back up in July. And we're looking at a very strong November and December this year. So I think we're going to end the fiscal year well and the calendar year well. Any specific questions I can answer?
Okay. Next item is liaison reports. Board of County Commissioners, I have nothing, but I'd like to recognize Commissioner Teseo, who's attending. And next item is Punta Gorda City Council.
I'd like to also recognize Vice Mayor Bill Driver, who's going to speak.
Obviously, you've read in the paper, we're applying for the All-American City. Our research shows that in any given year, 500 to 1,000 cities apply for it, and then they dwindle it down to 20, and we're part of that 20. So we're pretty excited about that. We're going to go out there in June and go before the judges and hope we get it. I think that's going to affect the city as well as this airport. Our research also shows a lot of people gravitate toward an All-American City because it's usually low crime, a lot of amenities for people to do and all that stuff, so that's kind of exciting. Second thing is I held in my hand here a thumb drive with a home movie on it. And it was presented to the city by a resident, and the best we can figure out is 1938 is what this is. And one of the things it shows is this airport with no paved runways. It's all grass. And you'll see the planes coming in on this grass and stuff like that, and people then getting on it, and they fly around the city, I guess, pay some money for a tour. So it shows the airport here. It shows Charlotte High School, and if you look when it shows it from the plane, there's nothing else there. It's pretty interesting. It also shows the old hotel that burned down in Punta Gorda in the 50s. Also shows down there in Lashley Park. It shows all the trailers and all the rest of that stuff. So it's very interesting. I'm going to give this to the chairman, and then he can look at it and get it and pass it on to the rest of y'all to look at.
That'll be very interesting, especially when you look at.
You say it was a movie.
The airport. No,
You see it's still picture, Bill.
no, this is a movie.
Airplanes from 1930.
No, it's a video of the airport that includes those pictures. Those, yeah, next month I'm going to take a look at it, get it to everyone else. Anything else? Okay, next item is Metropolitan Planning Organization, Economic Development.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Saunders.
We had a packed agenda, to say the least, at the March meeting. Commissioner Teseo is one of my fellow MPO board members, so please feel free to come up and add anything that I pulled out just that might be an interest to the airport. Of course, we have our draft 2024 priorities, and I'll just pick the top three, which is no secret. Harborview Road, Edgewater Drive, and from Midway Boulevard, and of course the Jones Loop roundabout. That's still slated for 2029. Another interesting thing that we did approve is a joint resolution by the Metropolitan Planning Organization of Lee Collier, Charlotte County, Punta Gorda, and Sarasota Manatee, supporting the submission of an application to make the case for the inclusion of a Southwest Florida rail study among the passenger rail priorities of the Metropolitan Planning Organization Advisory Council. So we'll see where that goes. On the EDP front, they had their membership meeting. Before I leave MPO, there was a request. I had put it out to the board on what they like to hear from the airport report, and one of the items that they had suggested was a presentation, however often we desire, from the Economic Development Director on some of the projects that are ongoing or proposed outside of the airport and industrial areas immediately surrounding the airport. And I believe we have asked Mr. Gammon to visit our next Airport Authority meeting to give us a small presentation accordingly. And then on the economic development front, the EDP had their membership meeting out at Babcock Ranch that was joint with Lee County Economic Development. I'll pass this around. It's has an interactive map on the latest and greatest of what's going on out there, and if you haven't been out there in a while, I certainly encourage you to do so. We toured the solar farm, which is impressive in itself, but of course now with all the retail and expansion that they're doing, every time I go out there, it's a wow factor. So.
I haven't been out there in a while, but yeah. I know exactly.
So that folds out to a large map that kind of gives you the latest and greatest on what and where and the retail, and it's pretty impressive. So, with that, any comments, questions, concerns? All right, hearing none, that concludes my report.
Okay. Well, next item is community, and Commissioner Coppola is not here, so state legislation.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, as you know, our appropriations requests are included in the budget that we are just waiting on the governor to sign. So it's $3.75 million for our ramp and $2.75 million for the CTC building here at the airport. And then the school board also got an additional $1.5 million for a hangar at Charlotte High School. But all those we're just anxiously awaiting. Hopefully we don't get the veto pen. That concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. Next item, attorney's report.
Yes, sir. Rather brief. You approved the air show, international air show agreement. We drafted that over the last month or two in cooperation with staff. We made some changes to try and do some early collaboration with the air show. As you know, I represent the air show. I also represent the Airport Authority. Under consent of both parties, they have waived that conflict, and I do it on a pro bono basis. So hopefully we've got that in place now for the next 2 years for the best part of the community, et cetera. So I was glad to get that completed. The only other matter is row hangar 2. Mr. White is working with the owner on that on some modifications that continues to go along, and I believe is a cooperative process in concluding that transaction. But other than that, you're not being sued by anybody.
Thank you. And next item up is the CEO's report. Mr. Parrish.
Sure, we can go through. I think ultimately we can take passenger facility charge off. We're almost done with that. We have gotten approval on our new PFC, and I think our amendment for our previous PFC is approved. So that one's finalized. We did finally get approval on the ARF truck, and we have that out to bid right now, and replacement for building 97 is out to bid right now. The new FBO hangar, we are going to finalize some numbers on that and probably bring it to you next month for construction. We have removed the offices from it. Since this will just be our hangar, we are taking the one with offices and putting it next door, and we're working with a tenant that would like to lease it from us, and we may go with both at the same time if we can get that lease worked out. CTC is out to bid. We should have numbers on that by the next meeting. I can report on it, but we'll have to work out a lease prior to that going under construction. We did get an extension on that $3 million grant. It was expiring mid this year. We'll start drawing it down by then, but we won't have it completely drawn down. And we continue work on the perimeter road. The rental car replacement building is putting final numbers to it, and then we'll start permitting on that. We had a first meeting with the county on some of their comments. North side infrastructure, if we have the plans ready to start that project as soon as the grant comes in, if the governor signs it, we'll start at least phase 1 of the road. We have a tenant looking at one of the larger buildings at the end, so we may have to turn it a little, move the road down and towards the east if that tenant comes through. We continue to work on the taxiway Alpha Charlie Delta intersection improvements and the fuel farm security road improvements. Actually, that is on our agenda today to approve the contract to build that. The master drainage plan, I'm working along with the design team, with the engineers on that. I met with them yesterday up in Sarasota for about an hour to go over a few little things. GSE maintenance building is under construction, so that one will move. And building 101 replacement is also going to be starting soon. We are working through, is that out to bid yet? Or is out to bid, so, yeah. Construction, well, the terminal expansion we'll talk about in a few minutes. Inline baggage, if you go over there, the pipes are sitting on the ground. We're about to start installing the steel pipes which go under the building, and then the rest of the drainage, then we should start bringing in fill and start the building. Hopefully that'll go up. The maintenance building, if you drive by there, it is, the pad's done, the plumbing's done, the steel has arrived, so I think you're going to see the slab go in, and then shortly thereafter the steel start going up, so that'll look a lot different by the next meeting. Taxiway Gulf, we're going to go out and cut the ribbon today. That has been a great addition to the airport. It really helps traffic. And airfield lighting, someday we'll take this off if we ever get the parts. Apparently us and about 40 other airports are waiting for 1 or 2 pieces to finish the system. And self-serve fuel facility, we're having to put down a new pad. The tanks are here, the electric's done, everything's done except the tank needs a concrete pad underneath it. The existing structure underneath it wasn't sufficient. And then we are working on the building 207 replacement. I think that's going through the final stages of permitting right now, and we have some modifications they requested.
All right.
Any specific questions?
One, I think it's the GSE site. Somebody needs, I think that's the site. If you go through, drive it at night, the lights over that site, they're blinding coming up the road. Somebody ought to take a look at it.
The one next to EAA?
No. What's going on up here on the north side? It's not next to EAA. There's some tall lights on off of Piper on the right side. That's what?
They're the ones right over here with storage,
Yeah.
Okay.
utilities and things like that. It may be.
It may be. Boy, I was up there Tuesday morning. It was
I think
blinding.
We can get with them.
Yeah. And
I'll
maybe,
take a look at it.
is it next to this building or down?
I slept since Tuesday.
Okay. Well, you let us know which side.
I'll
We'll
let you
talk
know.
to them.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I just have a quick question. Have we received any updates on our application to be approved for like the Customs and Borders pre-clearance in Canada, have those passengers arrive here?
We got a no.
Right.
So that's, we have, and that's a final no, but we have talked to both senators as well as Congressman Stubbe. So there's money in the new budget for 200 additional agents. They're all going to go straight to the southern border, and that's the problem. They can't say they have to go to Fort Myers. So I'm not optimistic that anything's going to happen, because they have given the ultimate authority to the local person. He had 13 employees, now he has 5. So we continue.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we could self-fund that, but it wouldn't pay for itself. Is that correct?
They're not even allowing that right now because they still don't have the employees.
Oh.
So that's how St. Pete does it. St. Pete has a contract where they pay 100% of the overtime rate, but they can't get people for their flights either. If they don't have people, they can't send them even if you're paying for them. So.
Super.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right, next item is marketing update.
Terminal expansion.
Oh, sorry.
Talk to you a little bit about what's going on. So this is a layout, perspective, plan view of the terminal expansion. What you see in blue is the existing building. The pinkish color is the baggage, inline baggage system. And then the tan is the additional hold rooms, the reconfiguration of TSA. So the majority of the construction will be outside of the new building. The plan is to build the hold rooms, the new concession space, the new TSA screening space. We'll be keeping the concession, the bar area in its current location and expanding that, and then adding new restrooms at both ends of the hold room. Keep in mind that this allows us to expand to the south at a later date, but we will be maintaining 2 hold rooms in the existing building that'll go out onto the ramp and south, and then the ones to the north will go out and have covered walkways out to the aircraft like as they do now. It's a significant increase in space, not a significant increase in hold rooms. Don't hold me to that. But that is the environmental approval we got allows us to do what you see here. So we worked hard with the EAA to get this approved. Our consultant said we weren't, so I'm happy that we got it. The rental car center we talked about last month is moving forward, but that's its location as it currently sits, and then we can fill in that in the future with additional bag claim, with whatever the necessity is at the time. We could also add more concession, more office space, depending on our needs. This does have some storage and office area in it that we currently don't have anyone assigned to, but there's always the need. The concession area, concessionaires lease next door, Allegiant leases next door, so they would probably all like to get into this building. Everything you see here fits on the current site. We don't have to tear down any existing buildings. The second phase of the baggage, inline baggage, would require us to go into that hangar. Go to the next slide. So it's a $44 million project. You can see the breakdown of everything. Rental car center is at the bottom. The rental car center is we have some DOT money in it, and the insurance should cover the rest. So we will have, I think, 8 checkpoints in the design. TSA will probably install 5 to begin with. Keep in mind we had 3 when we did the first design. We put in a 4th and then squeezed in a 5th. So this will allow us to expand that in the future. It also is larger to handle the new machines that the TSA is coming out with, that actually they're CT machines, so they're doing a full scan of the bags instead of just a single X-ray. We'll have more. Sorry, go back real fast so I can. Kaylee gave us this really nice handout. I hope you guys all are looking at it, because you don't want me to read everything. But we're going to increase the curbside. We're going to add another lane eventually to the curb. We're working with the DOT on that. I'd like to have it happen, coincide with the construction of the terminal. The outbound baggage system will handle upwards of 20 times as many bags per hour as we currently can. That is one of our choke points right now. The TSA can't get the bags through as fast as they need to. And that does, especially during peak season in March, it does cause some flight delays when they can't get the bags out to the plane. Checkpoint, obviously, will have larger queuing spaces. Probably do some interactive advertising and stuff like that to keep people's attention so they're not mad that they're standing in line. Although our checkpoint hasn't had a wait time over 20 minutes for more than 10 minutes, as this is how they do it. So we really get a lot of people through. We're a privatized airport when it comes to TSA, and I think the attitude and the efficiency of the screeners is considerably more. We're pushing, Ray's not here today, he's off at a conference about TSA, and they're increasing their pay tremendously and their schedules, so the way they do their scheduling is fairly inefficient. They have said that privatization is about a 20 to 13%, depending on the airport, savings to them, so why they're not pushing it, I don't know. They cut our LEO reimbursement, our law enforcement reimbursement. I'm getting into things that aren't on this agenda, as well as bomb sniffing dog reimbursement, which we didn't have, but RSW did, and then had the biggest pay increase they've ever given. So sooner or later we got to look at efficiencies with TSA, but we'll have the space for them when they come in. We are going to have larger restrooms. Kaylee wants to be able to take her bag into the restroom, so we're going to work on that, as well as more family restrooms and
stalls for the ladies.
Well, we'll have as many as we can put in there, but she wants them bigger, so we've got to decide if we want bigger stalls or more stalls. So. No, we do have significantly more restroom space. We have significantly, more amenities. The mother's room, we'll be putting in a new one, as well as family restrooms. But you can go to the next slide. We're changing up the colors a little bit, kind of going to a similar color scheme, but arrivals one color, departures another color. This building does not show the new terminal behind it. You won't be able to see the planes anymore. Well, you'll be able to see their tails like you do in the other one. Rental car center will be a different construction type, but same colors. And so we picked the construction material color, and then we'll just transfer that over to the new building. Next slide. So there's a rendering, 2 guys arguing with each other, from the road between the 2 existing hangars, the rental car center, and looking to the south of the new rental car center and the existing terminal. Next slide. Just the front of the terminal, the new color scheme, Orange will be arrivals, blue will be departures. You can see how the new baggage handling system sticks out a little. We'll have sidewalks and access in front of that. Next slide. And that's just a picture from the other direction. Any specific questions? Keep in mind we're still early in the design. Schematics are done, spacing's done, but we have to now start drawing the interior walls, and I'll bring this back in a couple of months when we're just a little bit further along. Sure.
So do you think that with this the first phase of expansion with the hold rooms, will this meet what our current demand is, or are we going to have outgrown it by the time it's done?
The FAA allows us to meet existing demand.
Okay. So that's our hope, is that this will meet our existing
Yes.
demand at least.
Yeah. So obviously, if you look at where we are today and what we will have in a year or two, this is a lot bigger space. So we're putting in larger hold rooms. There will be more seating available. We try and put 5 pounds of potatoes in a 10-pound sack. Maybe we'll be at 7.
No, it's the other way around. It's 10 pounds.
10 pounds in a 5, so we'll have 7 pounds in a 5-pound sack. That's a Gary thing, and I'm not good with Gary quills. Gadzooks. Sorry.
Yeah, well, I know what you meant.
One more question.
Yeah. Yes.
I thought I heard you say early on in the presentation about covered walkways to the aircraft.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on that? To
Just-
every aircraft? Is it permanent or?
Well, like we have today, there are covered walkways
Right.
to the aircraft position, then you walk to the plane. So they're not jet bridges.
That's the most common question or comment that I get is why
And-
don't we have jetways? But are these, so there'll be permanent covered walkways to the ramp to get onto the aircraft?
Yeah, like we have today.
Yeah.
So. And I always say this, if someone comes here tomorrow that says we'll bring in 8 flights a day, if you build a jet bridge, we can build a jet bridge. Any one of these gates can be modified for a jet bridge.
Thank you.
Just like to make one comment when I think back, the original terminal, having lunch at the Skyview Cafe, how much the airport has really changed, and
If you could go back to the funding slide one more time. So this is a little bit bigger breakdown of the funding. It's a $44.4 million project. Our current plan is 15 million PFCs. We are working with the DOT for the 4.95 million, and that is currently in their work program out the 5 years. We have FAA bill money of 10 million this year. We're going after another 6.9 next year. We were the largest small hub airport funding this year in Florida, so we're excited about that. And then we're working with DOT for the strategic intermodal system funds of 3 million this year and 4.5 million next year. I'm confident of the funding. I'm not confident of the years. They could be 26, 27, 27, 28. So because of that, we have requested an SIB loan from the state. We just paid off our last one this year, and we got loan documents yesterday for review, so we're going to review those, and then we'll bring them to the board at a later date. But like I said, so this, between PFCs and grants, this will be 100% funded. The loan would just cover us for the future year PFCs until we get them in. But, if you look at this right now, by 29, We'll be receiving our final chunk from the DOT. 27, 28, we'll finish with our PFC funding. So it's a lot of money, but you know, we've been very successful with grant funding on these.
What is the interest rate on that SIB loan?
We just got it. I think it's 4. We're making a little over 5 on the money in the bank, so it makes sense to keep our money in the bank. And but we just got it yesterday, so we have not had a chance to get into the 30-page documents.
Yeah, that's fair. We'll discuss it at a future meeting.
All right. Kaylee?
So your marketing report in your packet covers February and March because we didn't have a meeting last month, as y'all know. So things have been very busy. We included your annual summary, nonstop destination to progress that we mailed to y'all. And there's a few copies in the back for the public if anyone would like them. Otherwise, they're online. And it's just like a pictorial summary and projects and what's been going on for the 2023 year. Well, I can't believe we're already into 2024, into April. So in regards to the terminal expansion, on our website, we do have, under community and news section on the homepage, a feed for terminal upgrades, and that's where we'll post new information, the design as it's refined, and as we get more information in that process, so the public will have access to what we're doing, what we're up to, and it'll all be under that terminal upgrades section. Also, in terms of news, we had some good coverage about being the third least expensive airport in the country, which was pretty exciting. That's because the average fares are so low, which is great. That goes into our model, low-cost model, of course, and the fabulous service we have from Allegiant and Sun Country. And we had a lot of other community projects and news and things like that of that sort. The other thing that is at the back of the marketing report is a draft of our air service incentive program that we have been kind of noodling on and working on developing. We contracted with a consultant that we have as in continuing services, CMT, to do a competitive review of what other airports are offering in terms of incentive programs. And a lot of airports offer waivers of fees and rents and terminal use and landing fees for the first 2 years. As y'all know, our model is that low-cost model, so we're sticking with that for the next couple years, of course, as we've contracted with Allegiant. But we do want to offer some more marketing support incentives, and that's something that other airports do, and we feel that that will help us get the attention of airlines to come here and operate here, as well as help expand additional service with our incumbent carriers. So there's a draft of that. If you have any questions, we could always talk about in the future. It'll be hopefully incorporated into the next year's budget, the 2024-25 budget, basically a bigger marketing stipend in the budget, so that we'll be ready to offer those incentives to airlines if they establish more service here at Punta Gorda. That's just a little summary of what's been going on in the marketing world. Do y'all have any questions? Thanks.
So we found out, and this is counterintuitive to me, that the planners don't really care about how cheap the airport is. They want to take back to their bosses, say they're going to give us $100,000 in X, Y, or Z. So we're putting a packet together that they can go back and try and entice more service that way. That's how everybody else is doing it. And we're going to see if the board approves it for next year's budget. We'll go out and Kaylee and I'll speed date with a bunch of airlines, and hopefully that'll change. But we're headed up to Washington in a month. We have 9 meetings, so it'll be exciting.
And that's with airlines?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Speed dating. We have 15 minutes. When they ring a bell, you literally just move to the next table.
And also, we are working with the tourism department of Charlotte County to see if there's any marketing incentives that they can match. Because they have a lot of great outreach and in-kind marketing services, as well as they're considering matching some of the funds too. So that's a great partnership we have with the tourism department.
A lot of communities have a revenue guarantee. That cannot be funded by airports. It can be funded by the community. It's usually through tourism, through county marketing dollars. So we're talking about that. I don't think we're there yet. We're a long ways from there, but we're working on changing a little to see if we can be more successful in grabbing new service. But keep in mind, we are in the top 100 airports in the United States. So a lot of airports would love to be in our shoes. So.
Any other comments?
Mr. Duncan?
Yes, good morning. So as tradition has it, March is our busiest month. This past March was extremely busy at the airport. We were actually up 37% as compared to March of 2023. The commercial ramp was busy, the air center ramp was busy, the north ramp was full of airplanes, as was the south ramp. So we are happy to be able to provide all the service that we do and accommodate all this aircraft. To have over 13,000 flights in one month, that's a lot, but with a 3-runway airport system, it works. It works. So we're actually glad to get through March. Passenger counts, as Mr. Parrish indicates, for the fiscal year, we're actually up 6%. That's going back to October. For the calendar year, as Mr. Parrish indicated, we're up 2%. So March was, again, extremely busy. We had 244,434 passengers utilize the facility. As far as fuel sales go, Avgas continues to do quite well at the airport. We sold over 12,000 gallons out of truck. That was a 17% increase from previous March. Avgas self-serve is probably one of our busiest sale producers. That was actually up 25% as compared to March of 23, where we sold over 14,000 gallons. We're looking forward to the other self-serve island being installed and operational, and I'm sure March of 25 will probably be even more than this March. As far as jet sold, 87,000 gallons, up 16% from March of 23. And airlines was up as well, over 1.7 million gallons pumped. We were up 6% over March of 23. So all considering, we had a really busy March, and staff performed exceptionally well. And like I said, we're glad to get through March unscathed.
We had a lot of concerns about the drive, the access in. We had to take out a part of a lane. Really, we got through the busiest days with minimal delays at the curb. It was probably one of our best traffic years, landside traffic years that we've had in a long time. So I think the expanded cell phone lot helped a lot. People are getting used to using it, and that really cuts down on traffic at the curb.
Yeah. We've seen that what also helps is Allegiant pulled their schedule a little bit further apart. Years ago, they were pretty much stacked up. They'd all come at the same time and leave at the same time, and that puts a tremendous amount of stress on all the facilities. So that means then all the passengers arrive at the same time. So when it's a little bit more spread out, we get a lot more better utilization of the facilities.
And we also, because of the building 207 coming down, we have relocated the entrance to rental car returns for the cars from the rental car company's cleaning area. So they're no longer going in front of the terminal. So that's probably 5,000-6,000 cars a day that aren't traversing in front of the terminal. So that's been a big help too.
Excuse me, how long ago did they start spreading the schedule out?
They did a little bit of it last year. I don't know if they were just saying if that helps, but they continued this year. 3 years ago, it was stacked. It was stacked, and we continued to press. And I guess our efforts paid off. They spread it a little bit more. So they didn't reduce flights. They just they unstacked them.
So now when they come in on top of each other, it's more flight delay or?
They still do, it's
Departure
just
delay.
less. If in the past there were maybe 7 flights all within an hour, now there might be 4. So they're still a little tight, but any little bit helps. And yes, and actually sometimes flight delays help us when we know we're going to be busy. It tends to spread out. Other times it could work against us because those delays flights now are matching up with the flights that were supposed to go out. So it's
Our busiest day of the year, the last 4 flights were delayed, and that just made the terminal operate so much better. What we do see is, if you follow the news, Jacksonville Center handles all the traffic coming into Florida. They get overloaded, they call ground stops, so nothing on the Eastern Corridor can take off. When they say go, they all scramble to get into the air, and then they all arrive at the same time. And every airport in Florida is just jammed, and we are the beneficiary of that as well. So that's when you see 5 flights arriving within 20 minutes, and the passengers are screaming. But
The line
it's
of
not just
traffic out
here.
to Piper Road.
Go to any airport out there, and they're all doing the same thing.
thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Old business, we see none. Let's move on to new business. First item is aviation fuel supplier.
So I've been here a while, 18 years, and we have never gone out for aviation fuel. We had gone out prior to me coming on board, and we had Shell. Shell changed to Titan. We have been continuing their contract for years. It was a good contract. We worked a lot with them, and I think as we have grown, they have modified things in our favor. But we thought it would be advantageous to do what we should do and go out for new contracts to make sure we were getting the best deal. So we went out for an RFP. We had 3, Titan, Avfuel, and Ascent, which is World Fuel. And we had staff score them, and Titan ended up with 89.6 as the #1 provider. So we wanted to get this approved this month for the transition plan to take place so the new provider could start in June, July 1. But the transition plan will be a lot easier if we approve Titan, obviously. But I wasn't on the scoring committee, but they had the best package. They have the best package of lease rates for the trucks and fuel pricing. So we think that we're going to get the best deal from them. And we have been happy with them for the last many years.
Mr. Chair, I move that the board accept the staff's rankings and authorize the CEO to execute a 5-year agreement with 1 5-year option with Titan Aviation Fuels to commence July 1st of 2024.
I'll second.
First and second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No opposed. Motion carries. Next item, Fuel Farm Road.
Number 2 is the Fuel Farm Access Road. We're trying to keep our fuel trucks inside the airport as much as possible. Right now, they have to go out a gate and come back in. We've been planning this access road for the last 18 years. We got some DOT safety money last year, so we decided to put it towards this. Our original design was a direct connect from the east side of the 200 series hangars. There's a large drainage structure there that was going to cost more than the entire project to change. So we decided to come around on the fence. This project is a road. is new access control for that area, which will take it inside the AOA and inside the secure area of the airport, so the fuel trucks will never go out. And it also has been a priority of the FAA to secure fueling facilities since 9/11 is one of the things they asked airports to do. So this is kind of a culmination of planning for the last 10, 15 years, finally getting it done. The bids came in, as you can see, spread out a lot, and we have sat down with Cobb. We've worked with Cobb in the past. They're confident that they can get it done, and we'd like to award the contract to them to get this started as soon as possible. We've gotten all the DOT approvals on the contract, on the bids, and everything, so everything's ready to go.
Motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll move to approve allowing the CEO to execute the contract with Cobb Site Development in the amount of $485,304.09.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Any further discussion?
Just a quick question. Is there, I mean, did you talk to Cobb? Their bid is just so much lower.
Yes. We did.
It's great, but a little concerning.
So whenever we see a large discrepancy, we always call in the contractor to make sure. They do have bid bonds. If they back out, we would, look at the bonding company, but you never want to do that. They never want to do that. They're building a large facility down the road, and I think they can get some economies of scale out of that. So
Got it.
they're confident they can do it.
I 100%
And I
had the same concern.
Yes,
We had a conversation. I was even more concerned about the next agenda item, but I understand
That
it's
one
been told.
also.
Yeah, I looked at I looked at that myself and
It's
said,
astounding.
I'm going to be honest with you. Our estimate was $400,000. It is still considerably higher than estimates, and our estimate was based on similar projects, similar size that had just been bid. So I don't want to speak for the other contractors, but I know a lot of people right now, and I've talked to contractors, they're saying, if I can get paid $900,000 for the project, I'll fit it in the schedule. But
any further discussion, questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
No opposed, all motion carries. Next item. GSE Maintenance Building.
I pulled that one from the agenda.
That's right, sorry. That's D, I can't see it on my
Clerical anomaly.
ESC.
Okay.
Is that a good word, Daryl? Clerical anomaly?
Clerical
Wonder who
anomaly.
came up with that.
And,
I'll have to put that in our,
so the next item is a contract with Kimley Horn and Associates. If you recall, Taxiway Alpha and Charlie, as well as the CD intersection, were all one project. That's the way the FAA asked us to do it. And then early in the project, we realized that it was not a rehab, it was a reconstruction. As we have gone through multiple projects here at the airport, we realized that the base material that was put down in the 40s is not holding up. It's turned to powder, and it just can't handle, it won't meet the requirements of today's DOT and FAA guidelines. So when it became a reconstruction project, the FAA said split it into two, we can't fund it in 1 year. So this is the cost to split the project. It was already considerably far in design, so they're now having to pull out bid tabs and everything. And then also this includes construction administration for a second project.
Mr. Chair, I move that we authorize the CEO to execute a contract amendment with Kimley Horn and Associates, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $234,336.
Second.
first and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And the motion carries. Next item is E.
Yeah, E is a FDOT grant agreement amendment and a resolution for Golf Course Boulevard Challenger Road improvements. This is just additional funding that's been added to that project. As you see, they add funding in years, so this is this year's funding. We'll probably have another one for next year's funding. But so this would be approval of the grant agreement as well as resolution 2024-05.
Mr. Chair, I'll move to accept that DOT Public Transportation Grant Agreement to extend the expiration date of the grant to June 30th, 2026, adopt Resolution 2024-5, and CO execute the FDOT Public Transportation Grant Agreement Amendment.
Second.
I have a first and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. And we are getting down to commissioners' comments, but before we,
No, you got,
our public comments, excuse me, before we do that, we had this discussion before on making motions. We can, as presented to.
And I appreciate everybody wants to recite what they're trying to do specifically, but if you just say as presented, that means I'm moving this as it's presented. But if you want to make a change, so to increase it, say 5%, then it's easier if you say as presented, that we know exactly what you're doing, and we can't say, well, he didn't say he wanted this or he wanted that. So if you just say as presented is the best way of doing it, unless you have an exception to the as presented.
I have no issue with that whatsoever.
That's fine.
Because these are complicated motions, and so I said, well, he didn't move to do this portion of it. It's easier if it's just as presented.
I thought I would bring that up just to.
It's both are acceptable. It's just one's easier than the other. And,
You just have to take 2 or 3 deep breaths before you start the motion.
Exactly. Yeah.
So like in this case, if that particular one incorporates a number of various options that are being presented, you might say, oh, I missed one of them. We got approval, and then it has to come back. It's easier with these complex ones. You say, I move it as presented, and if you have an exception or something to add, you have to do those additions. Of course, you can do it the other way too.
Mr. Chair, do we need to bring back View Rail Delivers? That was pulled off the consent?
We're renegotiating it.
Oh, okay, it's off the agenda entirely.
Yes.
Okay, now public comments. Do we have any? Just state your name and 2 minutes.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and fellow commissioners. My name is George Lynch. I'm a retired engineer and a 20-year resident of Punta Gorda. And I would like to talk to you about what is called a tabletop crosswalk. On the north end of the terminal at arrivals, there's a tabletop pedestrian crosswalk that's been constructed. This crosswalk is 6 inches in height and 6 foot in width, and it goes across the entire loop there. Once a vehicle has entered in front of the terminal, they have no choice but to cross that. And I'm saying that that 6 inches of height poses a risk to both pedestrians and to the vehicles. If you're elderly, if you have a cane, if a walker, if you're in a wheelchair, the 6-inch height is a hazard for you. If you're in a vehicle that has a ground clearance of less than 6 inches, you're going to drag your car and do a lot of damage to your undercarriage of your car. And I talked to the terminal manager, Mrs. Pardell, and her solution to that is to post a sign prior to short-term parking to direct traffic into the short-term parking lot such that they won't cross that tabletop crosswalk. But this is really not a good solution because short-term parking is always full, and if you have some big, heavy suitcases, and if you're elderly, to get those cases to the terminal or from the terminal to the car is a real problem. If you take a standard sedan, family sedan, and I would say a Toyota Camry is a good example of a family vehicle. It has a ground clearance of 5.7 inches. It's going to damage itself going across the crosswalk. There's a tremendous, and that's a 2024 Camry. I have a Lexus 500 LC. It has a 5-inch ground clearance. It cannot clear. I would propose that the commissioners lower that to 3 inches or less, or eliminate it entirely, and if speed is a problem, put normal speed bumps prior to the tabletop crosswalk, and just lower it to 3 inches or eliminate it entirely. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yes, good morning. My name's Roger Lanning. I'm from Ventura Lakes, property that abuts the airport. My question in listening to the discussions here is with Mr. Thornberry. I believe you said at the MPO, one of the items that was brought up and discussed was the roundabout, proposed roundabout at the end of Jones Loop Road, or at the end of Piper and Jones Loop. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
I believe I also heard you say 2029?
According to my paperwork.
It's not going to make it. I don't know if any of you have been to that corner whenever, or anytime actually. It is treacherous, and it's getting worse. And I know, and what I'm looking for, honestly, is maybe some promotion. I know this is probably something to be brought up at the MPO, but I'm also looking for an alliance. I know at one point in time, the commissioners were allegedly in favor of a roundabout. I propose to you now that it's probably not the best choice. We might be hung into it, but whatever they do needs to be done certainly before 2029. Go to the end of that road and try to take a left. If you're taking a right, and this was one of the issues that was brought up before, that if we had a traffic light, it would create a backup all the way to the airport. Not true, because anybody who comes to that is taking a right is right on red. They don't stop most of the time, but even if they stop, they take a right as long as there's no traffic. Taking a left is where it's an issue. And I understand that there's some significant building proposals down Jones Loop Road in that area. Many, many homes are being put in, so the traffic's only going to escalate. I beg you to reconsider if your position it was a roundabout, but even if it was a roundabout, join me and let me know how I can help or maybe initiate a little more aggressive posture in that concern, because there's going to be some serious issues there. People coming down Jones Loop Road don't do 40 miles an hour. Okay, it's a country road and people really move. And a lot of trucks, there have been accidents, nothing monumental to this point, thank God, but it's going in the wrong direction. So, not to hold you up or anything, and I'm sensitive to time. If there's anything that we can do in coalition, let me know. I'd love to go there and support anything as long as we're in the same direction. I personally feel that it needs to be done.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further comments? Seeing none, we move on to commissioner comments. I'll start with Commissioner Hansick.
Okay, well, we haven't met in a couple of months, and I got thinking, and I'm going to take this up, and it's kind of interesting, the comments that Thornberry and Oliver made concerning things that are going on in the airport, and my comments kind of fall into that. Unfortunately, I didn't have an opportunity to finish this before I gave it to staff, but I did print it out, and you can read along with me so you know what some of my thoughts are. So we can pass that down. It'll only take a minute or two. But basically, we have had and are continuing to have a lot of going on with handling the growth of both general aviation and especially airline passengers. Just consider before 2011, airline service was minimal. PGD wasn't much more than a general aviation facility. In 2011, 300,000 total passengers used the airport, and this year we will handle rate at 2 million passengers. Today's airline terminal has been and continues to be a modified facility of the Old Bailey Terminal, expanded into a very limited site. It has its problems, but it works, and amazingly we get a few complaints other than we don't have loading bridges. Financially, we are in a strong position of being able to accomplish what has already been done in the current projects without being a burden to Charlotte County taxpayers. I'm of the opinion, based on my experience, that we do an excellent job in meeting the immediate future of our aviation demands. Beyond the current planning period are questions that need to be addressed. I am suggesting the authority, with staff and our consultants, hold a workshop to review in detail what we have accomplished and how we're going to handle the challenges of the future, all in an effort to have an overall better understanding. The monthly project report gives us a snapshot of what is going on, but many times we do not understand all the reasons behind the decisions. Maybe the majority opinion is that it is sufficient because individually we can find out, but collectively, outside of a board meeting, there is no opportunity for open discussions and exploration. There are changes in the wings affecting airports to be aware of, such things like the impact of electric vehicles and charging stations, electric air taxis. What effect will artificial intelligence have on our industry? Increasing numbers of older travelers that have the means for more frequent trips, moving the physically challenged through terminal to access other services, auto parking, ultimate capacity of existing terminal site. Some of this stuff can be 20 years out, but planning and thinking should be thought about and started. With 3 authority positions up for election, it is anticipated one of the 3 will be new and will serve for the next 4 years. I believe it will be a critical time for shaping the future of the Punta Gorda Airport. I suggest that as needed, we set aside an educational half-day for a workshop for open discussion on any subjects. And that's it. And it's up to fellow commissioners, and if you think there's any value in doing that.
I will say we'll be starting master planning.
That's,
Yeah.
I kind of understand a lot of this stuff because of my background, but for board members, it's real. Education is important to understand, because you're all out there in the community like I am, and they ask you a question, well, what's that building going on over there? What is that thing? And we get the snapshot, which is good because you got an idea, but you really don't know, what is that thing? Why are we doing it? You know, it's just, and I think it would help support, our decisions. And what the staff are recommending, we need to understand. I mean, we're the policy makers, and we were elected to protect the interests of the citizens of Charlotte County, and it's important, I think, that we do that. With that, I'll be quiet.
Either of you like to comment? Commissioner Thornberry, Commissioner Oliver?
I have no problem setting aside time for a workshop. I think that would be great. I am interested, when is our next master plan? We just passed it in what, 2018, 2016?
So it's about every 8 years. So
Yeah.
we have it on the 25 will be the start of the master plan. It'll be funded that year. So we will probably, last time we had 5 meetings, we're probably going to increase that this time just because of the growth. So.
And even if you had it before that time,
This is
with
like
all
a
this other
preliminary
stuff that's going
Europe.
on. Just like the terminal expansion, that's a nice little drawing, but you're not really getting the detail on how things are working, how people are. You've all been in terminal buildings, you know what to expect and what you'd like to see, and we've got a really constrained site, and our box is only so big, and you can only do so much. And you saw those little bathrooms on the end.
They're really big. They're if you look at the little bathrooms, they're twice the size of the existing.
But what I'm saying is, you see the little drawing, but it's better to sit down if you have a full set of drawings, or you have somebody to really look at it.
But unfortunately, we don't have that
What you're
yet.
saying.
I mean, once we have it, I'll bring it back. I mean, I'll bring back the terminal every month if we want to. It's just,
And I'll have to say, you know, since I first came here, the transparency has gone over the edge. You know, before we had like 2 sheets of paper, and now you get enough bathroom material for a week, you know, in the agenda. It's good stuff. If some people have more interest than others, and I'm referring to the public because they ask all the time, and you can go to our site and you can see all this stuff that we get in this big mailing package just before the meeting. It's all there, the contracts, the cost, and all that. And it just depends on how interested you are. And I appreciate people coming here. And I don't know how many people watch us on the tube.
Right.
You know.
No, I agree with the transparency, the link.
Yeah, you've been here. Yeah.
Yeah, the link to the agenda and all of it is really good for the public. They can access it ahead of time.
Yeah, I think it's important that we're able to discuss and share ideas more than just once a month. In this forum, obviously, time is of the essence on getting through the agenda items and having you know, another opportunity outside of a normal meeting. I know we have our budget workshop, and you know, in addition to 1 or 2, I'm fully in favor of. In addition to that, I haven't really talked to James about this yet, but I got so much out of my airport tour. I'd like to do one once a quarter if I can accommodate that. I don't know if that's something that we could do together. I just found it, just like on my own business, putting eyes on what's on paper and what we're seeing on the screen, for me, is highly beneficial. So
and we got a new bus.
can't go together though.
No.
So.
Well, we just can't. We
Can't go together.
We can't. We sure, why not?
I don't think James wants to do 5 tours a quarter, but
I could, we could work it out. That's
We just can't talk to each other.
we have separate cubicles on the bus.
The appearance of impropriety as opposed to the actual impropriety.
Well, that's why we have.
Or you ask a question.
Well,
that
we have
all
to
of you
properly
have-
notice it.
Well, that's why we have Mr. Carr to keep us out of the
I
jail.
guess we could follow each other in different vehicles.
Run around while we're on the bus.
The details will have to be worked out on that part of it, but you know.
No, I have a couple of things when the commissioners are done.
Oh, okay. Let's move on that. I'll get with you and we can set up a time. Maybe we'll get together.
Yeah, it'll have to be voted on, so we can't just set it up. So
Yeah.
we'll talk about it and we can add it to next month's agenda.
Any?
I'm good. I understand we're still doing the ribbon cutting. That's
So I don't
immediately
have to
following the
say
meeting?
that. There's ribbon cutting following this.
I'm just going to say I'm looking forward to it. It's my
How are we
first
getting
airport
there?
ribbon cutting, so.
We're all going to meet at the FBO. And
Oh,
then
we're not
we'll
going
take-
on a bus
We'll
together?
take buses from the FBO. Buses.
Any
thought I had 'em.
Any further comments?
No.
Okay. Commissioner Thornberry.
That was it.
Okay.
I'm good.
I just want to thank all of our folks who came from the public and came up and spoke to us today. It helps us as board members to bring things to our attention that might not be on our radar, and I think everybody else at the airport too. You know, like any other business, you don't always know every single detail of what's happening in every crevice. So when there's things that are important, it's nice to sometimes be just made aware of. So thank you guys for coming out.
And we may want to hurry.
Yep.
If I could?
Yes.
Thank you. Ribbon cutting and honor flight, April 16th is our 3rd honor flight, 4th honor flight. Thank you, Beth. And I won't be there. I will be out next week, so if you need anything, Mr. Duncan will be handling it. And if I survive a trek to the top of the highest mountain in Costa Rica, I'll be back on the following Monday.
You better survive.
And that arrives around 9 o'clock, the honor flight, 8:45.
Yeah.
There's a link to it on the
Drink some coffee.
website. isn't
Yeah,
there?
we have a couple of food trucks that'll be there, a band, so you can bring the whole family and just make an evening of it.
If you get there at 9, they're usually late, so it'll be.
But if I show up at 9, that means they'll have arrived at 8:45.
Yeah.
So.
We'll take that, make note of that. I can't improve on anybody's comments, so the meeting is adjourned.